Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I am Shankhunath Banerjee and I am a social science teacher. I hope you all are safe and good. Today I am going to teach you class 10 history portion, chapter number 1, the rise of nationalism in Europe. So here are the discussing issues of this chapter. First, the French Revolution and the ideas of the nation. Second, the making of nationalism in Europe. Third, the age of revolution from 1830 to 1848. Fourth, the making of Germany and Italy. Fifth, visualizing the nation. Sixth, nationalism and imperialism. Students, the matter is that the chapter's issues are too much big. So in this video, I am going to discuss about the first two subtopics, that is the French Revolution and the idea of the nation, and the second one is that the making of nationalism in Europe. Let's start the video and understand the video or the topic by step, point by point. So let's start the chapter with its introduction. Before start the chapter, at first we have to clear about the concept of nationalism. That means, what is nationalism? Nationalism is an idea and movement that promotes the interest of a particular nation or as a group of people, especially with the aim of gaining and maintaining the nation's sovereignty or self-governance over its homeland. Now we are going to discuss about what is the aim of nationalism. The first point is, each nation should have sovereignty power. Second, a nation must be self-determiner, means free from outsider interference. And the third one is that a nation is a natural and ideal basis for a polity. Now you can guess whose picture is this. Yes, the person is Frédéric Soriot, who was a French artist, printmaker and draftsman. He made the print the dream of worldwide democratic and social republic. You can see the picture in your history book. Now we are going to discuss about the picture of the dream of worldwide and democratic and social republic. Here is the picture. So here the picture is in your history book, chapter number 1. Let's discuss about this picture more and more. French artist Frédéric Soriot made this print, that means the dream of worldwide and democratic and social republic, in 1848. It shows all the people of USA and Europe, men and women of all ages and social classes, marched to the Statue of Liberty and showing respect. The artist of the French Revolution time, they personified the liberty as a female figure. Here the lady holds the torch in one hand, which symbolizes enlightenment, and in another hand she holds the Charter of the Rights of Man. The image is also showing that the shattered remains of the absolutist on the earth's foreground. Let's know more about Frédéric Soriot's vision about the print of the dream of worldwide and democratic and social republic. First, all the group of the world gathered together. Second, they are identified through their national flags and national costumes. Third, leading processions of USA and Switzerland. Both countries were already a nation state of that time, just past the Statue of Liberty. Fourth point, followed by France. France are identifying by their tricolor flag, and then the Germans came, identified by their black, red and gold flag. According to Soriot's creation, the flag what the Germans carrying is an expression of liberal hopes in 1848 to unify numerous German-speaking principalities into a nation-state under a democratic constitution. The sixth point is, following the Germans, gradually the people of Austria, the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary and Russia came. Seventh point, Soriot also included Lord Jesus, saints and angels in this scene to symbolize the fraternity among the nations of the world. Now we are going to know that the chapter is dealt with many visualized issue of Frédéric Soriot's print, that means figure number 1 in your history book. First, nationalism brought their entire change in the political and mental world during the 19th century. Second, these results of the changes were the emergence of nation states in place of multi-dynastic empire in Europe. The third point, the concept and practice of nation states defines a sovereign control with its centralized power had been developing a long period in Europe. Fourth, the majority of a nation state must be with its citizens, not its rulers, which creates a developed sense of common identity and shared history. The fifth point is, actually on that time commonness was not exist. The print was forged through the struggles, through the action of the leaders and common men. Sixth, the chapters will look to the diverse process through which the nation state and the nationalism came into being in Europe in 19th century. Now let's discuss the French Revolution and the idea of the nation. Let's know more about French Revolution, which was happened in 1789. It was the first clear expression of nationalism. Second, France was ruled under the full-fledged absolute monarchical system. Third, French Revolution abolished the absolute monarchy and laid sovereignty in the hand of French citizens. Fourth, the revolution proclaimed that the people who constitute the nation and shape its destiny. The fifth point is, French Revolution introduced various measures and practices that could create a collective identity among the French people. Sixth point, the ideas of la patrie, that means the fatherland, and the les citoyens, that means the citizen, emphasize them enjoying equal rights under a constitution. Seventh point, new tricolor French flag was introduced. Eighth, the Estates General was elected by the body of active citizens. Ninth, they renamed the National Assembly. 10th, new hymns were composed, oaths taken, and martyrs commemorated in the name of new nation. The 11th point, a centralized administration was framed to formulate a uniform law for all citizens. 12th, internal custom duties and dues were abolished. 13th, a uniform system of weight and measures were adopted. 14th, French became as the common language all over the nation and regional dialects were discouraged. Now let's know what French Revolution has already declared. First, their mission was to make free all the French people from the despotism. Second, to help the entire people of Europe to become the nations. Third point, students and other educated members started to make Jacobins club in different cities in Europe. Fourth, the French activities and the campaigns of French armies moved on into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy in the 1790s. Fifth, French armies carried the ideas of nationalism abroad. Here in front of you the picture of Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's know more about Napoleon's rule. First, Napoleon captured the wide swath of territory under his control through monarchical system. Second, he destroyed the democracy in France, but he made an excellent administrative system to make whole system rational and efficient. Third, he removed the privileges based on birth, established equality before law, and secured the right of property through his civil code, which is also known as Napoleon Code in 1804, to all the regions in France under his control. Fourth point, Napoleon simplified administration division, removed feudal system, freed peasants from the serfdom and memorial dues in the Dutch Republic in Switzerland, Italy and Germany. Fifth, he removed the guild restriction in towns as well as improved the transport and communication. Sixth, peasants, artisans, workers and new businessmen enjoyed freedom properly in Napoleon's rule. Seventh point, a uniform law, standardized weight and measures, a common national currency made by Napoleon created a positive vibe in the mind of businessmen and small-scale producers. Eighth point, the reaction was mixed of those areas which were conquered by the French armies. Ninth, initially French armies were welcomed by the harbingers of liberty in Switzerland, Holland and in certain cities like Brussels, Mainz, Milan and Warsaw. 10th point, but initial enthusiasm turned into hostility when the political freedom did not reach to everyone. 11th point, increased taxation, censorship, forced conspiration into the French armies required to conquer the rest of the Europe. All seem to outweigh the advantage of the administrative changes. Now let's discuss about the second issues or the second subtopic, that means the making of nationalism in Europe. So let's start with its introduction. First, the mid-18th century clearly shows that there were no nation state as well as now. Second, Germany, Italy and Switzerland were divided into kingdoms. Third, Eastern and Central Europe were under the autocratic monarchies with a lot of diverse people. Fourth, these diverse people did not have any collective identity or collective or common nature. Fifth, they belonged from different ethnic groups and used different languages. Sixth point, the Habsburg Empire ruled over Austria-Hungary. Seventh, it was included with the Alpine regions, that means Tyrol, Austria, Sudetenland, and Bohemia was ruled by the predominantly German-speaking aristocracy. Eighth point, it also included Italian-speaking provinces Lombardy and Venetia. Ninth point, 50% population of Hungary spoke Magyar, where the other 50% spoke regional dialect. 10th point, in Galicia, the aristocracy spoke Polish. 11th point, Bohemians and Slovaks lived in the northern Europe. 12, Slovenes and Croats lived in the southern Europe. 13, Romans were lived in the east of Transylvania. Such a difference did not promote a sense of political unity. So the emperor wanted to bind the diverse group together to spread political unity. Now we are going to move about the next particular portion of this second subtopic, that is the aristocracy and the new middle class. Here we are going to discuss about the aristocrat people. First, they were the dominant class in Europe by socially and politically. Second, they were united in a common way of life that cut across the regional division. Third, they owned states in the countryside and also town houses. Fourth, they spoke French for diplomacy purpose and in high society. Fifth, they were powerful but numerically small in groups. After the aristocrat people, we are going to discuss about the poor people who belong from the society. So here the first one is that peasants were majority in groups. Second, tenants and small farmers farmed a bulk of lands in the Western Europe. Third, the serfs were cultivated in the vast estates of the Central and Eastern Europe. After the poor section, we are going to discuss about the arrival of the new middle class people in European country. First, the growth of the industrialization and the trade helped the growth of the town and commercial classes in the Western and part of Central Europe. Second, in England, industrialization began in the mid-18th century, but in France and the part of German state, it happened during the 19th century. Third, industrialization made the new social group as working class. Fourth, middle class made up of businessmen, industrialists, and professionals. The fifth point, the causes of abolition of the aristocracy privileges gained was the idea of national unity by educated, liberal middle class. Now let's go to the another issue, that is, what did liberal nationalism stand for? Now let's discuss about the liberal nationality. First, ideas of national unity were closely aided to the ideology of liberalism in the early 18th century in Europe. Second, liberalism derives from the Latin root, that is liber means free. Third, for the new middle class, liberalism stood for the individual freedom and equality before law. Fourth, politically liberalism should be the consent by the government. Since the French Revolution, liberalism stands for first, the end of autocracy and clerical privileges. Second, the nation must have a constitution. Third, the nation have a representative government to lead the people through parliament. In the French Revolution, they promote the equality before law. But we have to see that does the equality before law was really existent on that time or not. First of all, it was not existent because it was not necessarily stand for universal suffrage. Second, after the French Revolution, only property owing men were granted to cast their vote. Third, men without owning property and women were not allowed to participate in vote. Fourth, the Jacobins made it happen that all adults could cast their votes, but for a brief period. However, Napoleon scored again back to limited suffrage. It makes the woman power minor, subject to the authorities of fathers and husbands. Women and non-property men organized opposition movement to get the equal rights throughout the late 19th and 20th century. Now look at to the portion of the economic sphere. First, liberalism stood for freedom of market and abolition of state-imposed restriction on the government of goods and capital. Second, it was the strong demand by the emerging middle class. Third, during Napoleon's administration, each state had their own currency, weight and measures. So if a merchant travels in different states, they had to pay different percentage charges for taxes, weights and measures. These critical conditions made the obstacles of economic exchange and growth. The new commercial classes demanded for the creation of unified economic territory, allowing unlimited movement of the goods, capital and people. In 1834, Zollverein, a custom union, was formed in Prussia and joined mostly German state. Zolberin abolished tariff barriers and reduced currency value over 30 to 2. Creation of railway network stimulated mobility, harnessing economic interest for the national unification. The wave of economic nationalism strengthened the wider nationalist sentiment growing at that time. Here we are going to discuss about a new conservatism after 1815. After the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, European governments were driven to the conservatism who believed in a political philosophy that stressed first, importance of tradition, second, established institution and customs, third, preferred gradual development to quick change. However, most of the conservatism did not propose a society like pre-revolutionary days, but they realized the changes initiated the Napoleon modernization could give strength traditional institution like monarchy. According to the conservatism, a modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, and the abolition of the feudalism and serfdom, these features could strengthen autocratic monarchy in Europe. In 1815, the representatives of European powers, that means Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, who collectively defeated Napoleon, met at Vienna to draw up settlements for Europe. The Congress was hosted by Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna in 1815 with this object to create previous situation which had changed due to the Napoleon's administration in Europe. Here are the effects of Treaty of Vienna. First, the Bourbon dynasty was restored to power. Second, France lost its territories it had annexed under Napoleon. Third, a series of states set up in the boundaries of the France to prevent French expansion in future. Fourth, the Kingdom of Netherlands included with the Belgium set up in the north. Fifth, Genoa was added with the Piedmont was set up in the south. Prussia was given important to new territories on its western frontier. 7th, Austria was given control of northern Italy. 8th, but German Confederation of 39 states set up by the Napoleon was left untouched. 9th, Russia was given part of Poland in the east. 10th, Prussia was given a portion of Saxony. Actually, the main intention of the conservatists were, first, to set up the monarchy in Europe once again. Second, to create a new conservative order in Europe. Now here we are going to discuss about the conservative regimes which was set up in 1815. First, it was set up by the autocratic. Second, they did not tolerate criticism and dissent. Third, they sought to curb the activities that questioned about the legitimacy of the government. Fourth, they imposed censorship laws against the newspaper, songs, books, plays in which campaigned the ideas of liberty and freedom associated with the French Revolution. Fifth, but the liberal nationalists continued criticized the new conservative orders through the freedom of the press to inspire liberal continuously. Now here we are going to discuss about the revolutionaries. In 1815, many revolutionaries become underground due to the fear of repression by the autocratic. Second, secret societies sprang up many European states to train the revolutionaries and spread their ideas. Third, to be revolutionary meant a commitment to oppose the new monarchical system and fight for liberty and freedom. Fourth, here most of the revolutionaries were the witness the creation of the nation state as a necessary part of freedom. Here we are going to discuss about the Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini. First, he was born in Genoa in 1807. Second, became a secret society member of the Carbonari. Third, he was sent into exile for attempting a revolution in Liguria when he was just 24 years old. Fourth, he established two secret societies. First, in Young Italy in Marseilles, and the second one is that in Young Europe in Berne. Mazzini believed that God had intended nations to be the natural units of mankind. He wanted to break the Italy from the small states and kingdoms and forge Italy into a single republic within a wider alliance of nations. This unification alone could be the basis of Italian liberty. Following Mazzini's model, secret societies were set up in Germany, France, Switzerland, and Poland. Mazzini's relentless opposition to monarchy and visions of democratic republics made scare the conservatives. Metternich described Mazzini as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. So students, up to here today, I believe you understand this topic. I make the video point by point because I believe point by point, when you see the video or watch the video, you will understand the topic better. I need your feedback, so please write your comments, valuable comments, in the comment box. And if you think that the video is really helpful for you, please like the button and share the videos. And if you're not still subscribe my channel, please subscribe it. Please take care about yourself. Namaste, Khuda Hafiz.